Let's get to Donald Trump. Earlier this morning, delivering an incredible interview with CNBC, where he just says ridiculous shit.
Join us now on the Squawk News. President Donald J. Trump. President Trump, welcome. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Well, thank you very much, Joe.
You are very welcome. Can you give us, I think it's on everyone's mind, the latest on where the Iran negotiations stand? We now know Tehran has publicly confirmed that it will send representatives to the meeting with Vice President Vance. What do you expect? What are you hearing at this point, sir?
Well, as I said 2 days ago when they said they won't send them, I said they'll be sending them. They have no choice but to send them. What I think is that we're going to end up with a great deal. I think they have no choice. We've taken out their Navy. We've taken out their Air Force. We've taken out their leaders, frankly, which does complicate things in one way, but these leaders are much more rational. It is regime change, no matter what you want to call it, which is not something I said I was going to do, but I've done it, indirectly maybe, but I've done it. And I think we're in a very strong negotiating position to do what other presidents should have done during a 47-year period. We have 47 years where these bloodthirsty people have been killing a lot of soldiers, a lot of our soldiers, and a lot of other people. They've killed 42,000 people over the last 2 months. And, you get to a point where people don't want to mention that. They don't like mentioning that. 42,000 unarmed protesters, innocent unarmed protesters, many of them hung. So we're not dealing with the nicest group of people, but we're dealing with them very successfully, and the blockade has been a tremendous success. They said 2 days ago, we will open the strait. I said, no, we're not going to open the strait until we have a final deal. No, we want to open the strait. They said, we're not opening. We totally control the strait, just so you understand, for all the fake news out there.
And, Mr. President, we've seen 100 days of the largest protests in Iran since the revolution in 1979. And I know how much you respect.
We live in a totally separate planet here in the United States of America. Like, no, 42,000 protesters with the biggest penises you've ever seen had not been hanged by the Iranian government, okay? That's what Donald Trump is claiming, okay? Don't get mad at me. He said they're all hung, okay? None of those things have happened, okay? That's ridiculous. And even if that ridiculous claim were to be true, it's still additionally ridiculous to blow up the Iranian the pipelines and the Iranian bridges that 93 million people still use, and the Iranian power plants that, again, 93 million people use. That's not a solution to this problem. Not only is it not true, but also, even if it was true, what the fuck is your solution? To wipe out the entire Iranian civilization? How is that somehow a solution to this problem?
And admire and are concerned with the Iranian people themselves. And this is, I think, in large degree, one of the reasons you decided to embark on this whole thing, maybe among other things, but the timing was right. If we get close in negotiations right now, but the deadline for the ceasefire is tomorrow.
Yes, I listened to the Daily today. It pissed me off to no end. Oh, my God. Oh, my fucking God. The New York Times Daily still doing the damn thing.
If it looks like things are...
Like, the Daily, basically, when it comes to foreign policy, is a way to manufacture consent for the most liberal audience to still feel reluctantly on board with whatever military action we decide to do against whatever foreign adversary we've designed. Where that's their primary purpose, is to be like, listen, guys, I know you might not. I know that, our libtard audience might be feeling some type of way about our, bombing campaigns directed by the president, who has said he's going to do a genocide against the Iranian population. But here are two Iranians that are, not in Iran currently, and how they also think that American military action is totally justifiable here is unbelievable. I basically listen to it when I'm lifting to piss me off so I can get better gains in the mornings, okay? It's just, it's so frustrating to see exactly what they're doing. Like, exactly what they're doing. The whole purpose is for liberals who are anti-war to feel reluctantly on board with the actions that Trump is taking. That's all it is. See, here are two Iranians who agree. And obviously, in an effort to maintain some kind of credibility, they will mention that like there are other Iranians, including the first guy's wife who lives in Iran, who's like, shut the fuck up. Of course, bombs are not good, right? They'll show both sides of the story, but the two key fixtures in the commentary are two people that are not in Iran currently, that are excited to go back to Iran, who still tell you, blowing up Iran might not be the worst option here because we're so desperate for a regime change.
Are progressing, will you not necessarily extend it to a definitive amount of time, but will you let it keep going if there's progress in the talks before taking?
Well, I don't want to do that. We don't have that much time because by the time both parties get there, they just got the okay to go forward, which I knew they were going to do anyway. I mean, I don't think they had a choice. They have to negotiate. And, the one thing I'll say is this: Iran can get themselves on a very good footing if they make a deal. They can make themselves into a strong nation again, a wonderful nation again. They have incredible people. But they seem to be, bloodthirsty. They're led by some very, very unfortunately tough people. And I don't mean tough in a good way. I think it's very negative for the country because we're much tougher than they are, like not even close. But they have to use reason, and they have to use common sense, and they can get themselves into a great position to make themselves into a great country, but a legitimate country, not a country based on death and horror.
I think regimes only respond to certain things, and I understand your threats to bomb the bridges in the electric grid.
You are wrong because my grandfather was half Iranian, and I agree, born and raised in California. By the way, yeah, the only solution here is to evaporate every single Iranian living inside of Iran out of existence. That's the only way that we can enact regime change in Iran, which we have to do, okay? I need you to understand, lifelong Iranian here. Hello, buddy. I'm from Tehrangeles, okay? And I'm here to tell you this is what we got to do so I can get Cuba Day one day.
But I don't think the regime cares about the people of Iran. And if
okay, sure.
If you did that, I'm sure it's the last thing you'd probably want to do, but it would hurt at least some of the people that we care about and why we embarked on this in the first place. So that would be, I'm sure, a last resort for you.
It's not my choice, but it will also hurt them. It'll hurt them militarily. They use the bridges for their weapons, for their missile movements. They're trying to move the missiles because we've obliterated most of their missiles, and they're trying to move the missiles.
I'm blowing up the bridges for the missile movements
around, even during the ceasefire, which I think was a good thing because we're totally loaded up. We have so much ammo. We have so much of everything that we've, a much more powerful than it was 4 or 5 weeks ago. So we've used this to restock, and they probably have done a little bit of restocking. We caught a ship yesterday that had some things on it which wasn't very nice. A gift from China, perhaps. I don't know. But
this is what they're relying on as new evidence. Perhaps it was a gift, a dangerous gift, the most dangerous of all. You never know.
I was a little surprised, but because I have a very good relationship, and I thought I had an understanding with.
How did she betray me? How did he do it? How did she do it? I said, not my she. Not my she, I said.
President Xi, but that's all right. That's the way war goes, right? But I will tell you that our military is incredible, what we've done. I mean, think of it. In the first 3 days, we took out their entire Navy, 159 ships. 159 ships, and wiped out their Air Force, wiped out their anti-aircraft, all of their anti-aircraft apparatus is all gone. All of their radar is gone. Their leaders are gone. Their leaders are gone. The whole thing is gone. And frankly, this should have been done a long time ago. It would have been a lot easier because they were a lot less lethal a long time ago.
So to be clear, you're saying that you need at least the prospects for a signed deal today and tomorrow, or else you would resume bombing Iran.
Well, I expect to be bombing because I think that's a better attitude to go in with. But we're ready to go. I mean, the military is raring to go. They are absolutely incredible. You know, I built the military in my first term. I'm using it now. The military, when I took it over from Barack Hussein Obama, it was so depleted, so sad. And I built it in my first term. You remember those big numbers. You talked to me about it once. That's a lot of money for military. I built it. We did a great job with our military, and we're using it now and rebuilding it, too. We've done a lot of rebuilding also in my first year of the second term. But we have we have the most powerful military in the world, and everybody knows it.
Since we're kind of tight on time, can we just talk about what something else happening today, and that is your pick for Fed Chair Kevin Warsh on Cap.
He's like, enough with this Iran stuff. Every time you talk, every time you open your mouth, the markets suffer. Let's get to your your Fed chair pick.
Capitol Hill. We've had a couple of guests today say the best thing that we need now is for Jay Powell to leave in May like he's supposed to.
If you hate America so much, why don't you fund an American insurgency? What the fuck?
And to have Kevin Warsh in as Fed chair for that next June meeting. But we still have this Justice Department probe hanging over. And I've seen things that you said in recent interviews, Mr. President. And I just want to ask you again, if it would be possible for the Banking Committee to completely investigate all of your concerns about the cost overruns and the testimony of Jay Powell in front of Congress, if you could take that off-ramp to get this moving, and Jay Powell leaves, Kevin Warsh goes in, is that something you'd consider dropping for the DOJ probe to let the Banking Committee handle it?
From the standpoint, Joe, from the standpoint that we have to find out why a small building cost close to $4 billion. It's not finished, by the way. They have a long way to go. They ripped down the most beautiful ceilings. They'll never build them again. The most beautiful, thick, 1.5 foot thick walls of solid masonry. They're never going to be built again. They put up 6-inch sheetrock walls, and they say, "Sir, we have no insulation. It's not in the budget." I mean, these walls, they had the best. That building was so beautiful. I would have fixed that building. I would have had it brand new, beautiful for $25 million. And they're going to spend close to $4 billion, maybe more than that. I don't know. It's not finished. In fact, I looked at it the other day. I'm afraid Kevin will have to have an office next to me in the White House because that building's not going to be done. He's not going to be able to use that building for a long time. And, you know, he had a complaint. He said, I didn't realize this. He said the saddest thing is they ripped down the best building. He said there was a building that had beautiful boardrooms that he used many times when he was there, that beautiful boardrooms and meeting rooms. It was so beautiful. The nicest in Washington, and he said they ripped it down, and maybe they did that to save money, like the Gavin Newsom, the railroad with it.
Why do people listen to him? I don't know, because he's the fucking president, dude.
They made it shorter in order to save money, but it's still 25 times over budget. But the worst I've ever heard is the railroad in California, and I think this might be worse. Think of it. I would have fixed that building.
We have to. Like, it's one of those situations where no matter how unhinged or unstable or demented he clearly is, his words still hold tremendous weight. This is what happens when you have a fucking toddler for president, but, you know, he's still the president.
Beautiful. Quickly. 25 million would have been like a brand new building. All the ceilings would have been left. All those beautiful thick walls with gorgeous moldings would have been left. You're going to get a sheetrock ceiling, a sheetrock wall without insulation. They said, "Sir, insulation's not in the budget." Insulation costs you $100 a room. The whole thing is crazy, and they're at $4. I think it's going to cost more than $4 billion when it's finished.
But it would
somehow Joe, somehow we have to find out how this can happen. It's not the first time. How does this happen? Did the contractor make $3.5 billion?
Right. If the Banking Committee could take it over.
I can't imagine that Too Late is taking money on construction. I can't. But it's possible. But we have to find out why is a job that should have.
I mean, this is the thing that he loves talking about. So it's really funny that this was the entry point into any sort of. This was the entry point into like creating a big deal, a controversy around the current Fed chair. Because it's right in his wheelhouse. He loves talking about building buildings. He's like, this is the one thing. That's why he never shuts the fuck up about the ballroom. Like, it's a fantastic way for Trump to endlessly talk about how the Fed chair has to go to prison, not because of the real reason, which is what Trump wants, which is to lower interest rates, but because he did a real estate deal that was bad. I don't like the way he did the real estate. I don't like it. You know me. I know how to do real estate. I know how to do developments. It's a very bad deal. Very, very bad deal.
Cost $25 million, costing billions and billions of dollars. You know, I built the hotel. It's now the Waldorf. I sold it to Waldorf, and it's now the Waldorf. I built it for $201 million. It's a bigger building than the federal, and it was hotel rooms with bathrooms.
Like, he's comparing the Jerome Powell's the necessity to prosecute Jerome Powell for a development project that the Fed engaged in with him building a Waldorf Astoria, bro. What is this comparison?
Rooms and, you know, partitions, and it's much more expensive to build a hotel room than it is a nice empty office space, right?
Oh my God!
I built that for $201 million. This now is 8 years ago or so. But think of it, this building, you look at it, it's a little building. It's over, I think it's going to cost over $400 billion. And here's the thing, it's going to be nothing compared to what it was. This is,
it's going to be nothing compared to the Waldorf Astoria. The Waldorf Astoria, beautiful building, believe me. Can you believe it? Oh my God. The curtains I put on that. The curtains I put on that Waldorf Astoria. Oh, unbelievable.
And $4 billion, and it's nothing compared to what it was. It was beautiful. It had beautiful ceilings. They're all destroyed. They took them down. I don't know why.
If the DOJ, though, if this goes forward with Department of Justice and it delays him being confirmed, Kevin Warsh, it's kind of counterproductive for what you're trying to do in terms of changing the MO of the Fed up to this point. So I'm just trying to look for an off-ramp to get for you.
Well, it is and it isn't, Joe. You have to find out why a thing like that could happen, because if you have hundreds of projects like that, you know, very few are like this, but if you had hundreds of projects like that, you have to find out why that happens. I mean, because we obviously don't do it right. But, you know, we have some great people in government that can do jobs. I build under budget, ahead of schedule. I'm doing a ballroom now. It's a much bigger job than that, and it's going to cost, depending on finishes, like $300 million. It's a much bigger job than that's ahead of schedule, and I have lawsuits every week from all these people, all the do-gooders that stop progress in our country.
But, I'm going to give Becky a chance, Mr. President, to get you to...
And you can have some extra time. I know my people said 20 minutes, but you can have some extra time.
That's good.
You can even put Andrew on the phone. You know, you told me Andrew would not be there, and I said, I don't care.
That was last week. That was last week.
You could even put Andrew on.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Joe made a comment to me. When he tried to get me on, he said, I promise I'll have Andrew Ross talking. He will not be there. He is there. And you can put him on. It's okay.
I didn't say I'd have him. I said he's not in last week, but then you canceled because you were on the West Coast.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I'll chime in a minute.
And that's
he's going to be
so... Second. Becky,
but I don't mind if he's there. I like him. I respect him. He's just wrong on a lot of issues.
There you go.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about what you... Hi, sir. Let's talk a little bit about what you expect from your next Fed president. There had been a lot of expectations. You've been very clear about wanting lower rates. But with the situation in Iran right now with higher oil prices, most people tell us that that's going to have to wait. The market itself is not anticipating lower rates or any rate cuts until at least the second half of this year. There's only a 41% chance or something of that, according to the market itself. Will you be disappointed if your new Fed chair, if he gets approved, doesn't cut rates right away?
I would. But let's talk about Iran first. Iran, I'm looking at your numbers now as I speak. I mean, the market's up. We're going to be at 50,000. That's where we were just a little while ago when it started. And when I hit 50,000 on the Dow and 7,000 on the S&P, I said, well, I hate to do this to everybody, but I'm going to have to journey down to a place called Iran and not make sure they don't have a nuclear weapon, because they will blow up the world. You want to see a bad stock market? Try blowing up the Middle East and then Europe, and then they come for us, right? and we're not going to let that happen. So I said to my people, they were all gathered, all these wonderful guys, Scott Bessent, the whole group, Howard, they were all doing a good job. I said, fellas, I got a little bad news for you. I'm going to put a little wrinkle in your numbers. Why, sir? We're going down to a place called Iran, and we're going to make sure that they never have a nuclear weapon because they'll use it to blow up, because they're religious fanatics, and they will use that weapon to blow up the world, but they'll start with Israel in the Middle East, and we're not going to let that happen. And they said, wow, that's going to be bad.
Wow.
I said, yeah, it's going to hurt the market, and it's going to drive up the price of oil and whatever it is, but that's peanuts compared to what would happen if we let this happen. And I told them, 47 years other presidents wanted to do it. They never had the guts, the courage to do it. I said, we have to do it. And they understood that, very professional. They're great guys, great people. Jameson's doing such a great job, all of them. And so I said, we're going down and we're going to do our little thing. And we did. And we've, knocked out. We've totally won the war. If you read the New York Times, you think, oh, gee, when are we surrendering? We have totally beat them militarily and otherwise. I mean, I wish you could hear the conversations we have with them. We are victorious. If we left right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild. And they can't get the nuclear dust because it was obliterated by the B-2 bombers that went in. They never got the credit they should get. They've tried to get down there. We have cameras from Space Force on it all the time. They've tried to get down. They can't get down. That place was obliterated. They did such a good job. The left tries to make it, tries to demean all the time, like, oh, well, maybe it wasn't totally obliterated. It was, and they can't get it, or they would have tried to get it. But the fact is that we took this little journey, and if you would have told me that the Dow is almost, I'm looking at your thing, I mean, literally we're at 50,000. And if you would have told me that oil is at 90 as opposed to 200, I would be frankly surprised. And you know what is happening? Boats are finding other sources. They're going up to Texas and Louisiana. They're going to Alaska. They're going to other places. It's an amazing phenomenon. When there are problems, people find out how to take care of things. And the Strait's very important, but people have found out. I mean, you're taking a look. Look at your numbers right now. I'm looking at where the stock market's up, where it's, look at that, S&P. The numbers are what they were when we started this whole thing. I thought they'd be down 20% or down a very substantial amount. Even when it was down more a couple of weeks ago, I was surprised. I thought it would be down much more, and I thought the oil would be much higher. And I'm very happy to say that it wasn't. And when it's over, and it will end, when it's over, they want it to be over immediately. And I just looked at a little chart. World War I, 4 years and 3 months. World War II, 6 years. Korean War, 3 years. Vietnam, 19 years. Iraq, 8 years. I'm 5 months. Okay, 5 months. I would have won Vietnam.
I read this as a threat, by the way. When he talks about how long some of these other the wars have taken, I feel like he's saying, first of all, 5 months is, I thought it was just 55 days or so. But also, I feel like he's saying we're going to be in it for a lot longer, Vietnam.
Very quickly. I would have, if I were president, I would have won Iraq in the same amount of time that we won, because essentially we've won here. Okay. I mean,
he's out of his dang mind, dude. How can anybody look at this guy running this country and go, well, that's a country I can invest in. This yield, to me, what this demented old man is saying, you know what that says to me? Stability. Okay. This inspires confidence in me to continue investing into the United States of America. Everything is gonna be fine.
People can play games.
Like Donald Trump's statements and market moves in the aftermath of Donald Trump's statements show me one thing, and that is that the money is unbelievably fake, and stock market confidence is just a never-ending cycle of copium that has nothing to do with whatever the previous market fundamentals used to be. It's anchored around delusion and a mutual interest in the market growing. Nothing. It has nothing to do with any fundamentals. It has nothing to do with like actual serious analysis and looking at what Trump is saying, looking at where the American government is going. It's just everybody thinking, this is just has to keep going up. There's no other way around it.
The Democrats can say, well, we should have done better, no matter what. If I did it in 1 week, they'd say, we should have done better. Look at Venezuela. I took it over in 45 minutes. It was basically a 45-minute. And by the way, a very strong military country. And we took it over in a day, but let's be nice. But we basically took it over in 45 minutes. We took it over during the attack in 45 minutes.
But, Mr. President,
and they would say, I'm surprised they haven't said it, that you should have done it in 30 minutes. It took too long, So
it took too long.
It's tough. But we can't let traitors. We can't let traitors like Schumer put pressure on you where they say we want out. Think how bad that is. I'm negotiating with these people, and they're telling us we have to get out now. We have to get out now. We have to get now. And they were in a war for 18 years. They were in a war for, think of that, Vietnam 19 years, Iraq 8 years. So.
Right.
I want to make a good deal. I'm not going to be rushed. I have all the time in the world. I want to make not a good deal. I want to make a great deal. I don't want to do this, go through this. And, if you look at this, what we've suffered in terms of losses, we lost 13 men, and that's terrible. I wish we didn't lose one. But if somebody would have said, we've done this and obliterated that country, obliterated it, and we lost 13 men, people would have said, that's not possible to have done that. It's not possible. Right. So we've done a great job, and I don't want to be rushed by people that are really treasonous as far as I'm concerned. And it's just, I watch this low IQ guy, Hakeem Jeffries. He's a totally low IQ person, and he's always ranting and raving, oh, this war is so terrible. They shouldn't be saying that when we're in the midst of a negotiation, because it does hurt us somewhat. It gives the other side some hope, and I don't want them to have hope.
Mr. President, I wanted to ask you about Anthropic, if I could, for a second, because this is a company that your administration has declared a supply chain risk. And I want to understand the determination for that. There's a view by some that it's political, but more importantly, at the same time that this is happening, reportedly, the NSA and other parts of the government are using Claude, which, of course, is the large language model of Anthropic, and how you square that.
Well, Anthropic is a group of very smart people, but they started telling our military how to operate, and we didn't want that. And they tend to be on the left, radical left, but we get along with them. In fact, they came to the office. They came to the White House a few days ago, and we had some very good talks with them, and I think they're shaping up. They're very smart, and I think they can be of great use. I like smart people. I like high IQ people, and they definitely have high IQs, It's one of those things, and I think we'll get along with them just fine.
So do you think a deal will be made so that Anthropic will be allowed to be used inside the Defense Department in the future?
We want the smartest people. Now, in the meantime, we replaced Anthropic with somebody else. You know who they are, and they're very, very smart people. Sam Altman, a very, very smart group. We have a lot of smart groups. We have some brilliant people. We have the most brilliant people in the world. President Xi told me that. He said Silicon Valley, he called it Silicon Valley. During a conversation, I have a great relationship with him. He said, you have the smartest people in the world. And we do. You take a look at what's happening with Jensen and all of these people. And they're great.
President Xi, I call him. Silicon Valley, I call it. Very high IQ people. She said, you have the most high IQ people. They're so handsome. They are so handsome. Let's finish this Trump idiocy, and then we'll move on.
Great honor to be working. I think Tim Cook, I see he's retiring. I wrote a piece about him today, and I got to know him very well.
I wrote a piece about Tim Cook. What the fuck?
Fantastic person, did an unbelievable job. And I say it respectfully, but if Steve Jobs had lived and ran the company, it might have done good, but it wouldn't have done, I think, nearly as good as the job Tim has done. And I got to work with Tim, so I really know it. I know what I'm talking about. He's a very unusual guy. He gets things done.
Mr. President, we did read your entire Truth Social post. I just want to return for 1 second and make an analogy here. You saw what inflation did to the Biden legacy and administration. So 22% price increases. By the time he was leaving, it was down to about where it is now, about 3%. But not a single.
It was down to 5%. It wasn't down.
Well,
to
or 3, but not a single
person. And the reason
person.
it was down was because I had won the election, and it started falling after I won the election, and I started getting prices down from right after November 5th.
If you needed to prevent that from happening, let's say Chair Warstock, for whatever reason, there's some type of energy shock. Who knows with the blockade? Let's say that things got too hot. At that point, just to make sure there was no inflation, would you allow him to raise rates or not cut rates? Would there ever be a period where you could see that was something that a Fed chair needed to do? And if you said he might have an office right near yours, he might not want an office right next to yours, sir. I don't know. After what happened to Jay Powell, you might want to be across in those new digs, maybe.
Maybe I'd like him next to me. Actually, it's not a bad idea. Maybe Jay Powell did us a big service in retrospect. I call him too late. He's just too late. He's always too late, except when it came to before the election, but that didn't quite work out well for him. So the answer is I want Kevin. I think Kevin's great. He's sent
Trump interview, AOC, Shoycott, AOC. You see me, little bro. No one cares about Trump. Shoycott, AOC beef. Shoycott, AOC beef coverage, little brah. Buddy, are you okay? What do you think is more important? What do you think is more important right now? The mother president talking about the next steps potentially, or your own personal hatred for Shoycott Chakrabarti? Lem FAO, 100 million from Stripe. Lem FAO, 100 million from Stripe. Yeah, it kind of feels like you have a personal stake in this. Like you don't like Shoycott Chakrabarti because he happened to hit the fucking lottery by being the founding engineer of a company that made him hundreds of millions of dollars. And now you're like, oh, that's the reason why he's, an unsavory fellow. I can't trust him. He's not trustworthy, which is fine. I mean, I had my skepticisms as well.
Casting in a true sense. Okay,
but
I think he's going to do a great job.
I don't understand why you think that is like the most important thing that we need to get to right now.
I've been in favor of interest rate rises to stop inflation. I think it sort of is effective. But there's one thing, and nobody ever talks about it but me, unfortunately. So I'm sure it's not correct.
What did he say?
I think it is. We should have the lowest interest rate.
I'm just LARPing. I live in Louisiana.
When I was a young guy growing up, we always.
Bro, you're fucked anyway. You live in Louisiana. You're fucked.
Had the lowest interest rate worldwide. We always did. And then 15 years ago, 20 years ago, it started where Switzerland and other people had lower rates than us. And I just had a thing with, if you take a look at some of the, let's call them like elite countries. They're only elite because we allow them to walk away with $30 billion and $40 billion a year, but I don't do that so much anymore.
Yes, I have looked into Xavier Becerra for California governor, and I don't like it, okay? I don't like it. Out of all of the options with viability right now, Tom Steyer is the only guy that has like an actual progressive campaign. Xavier Becerra is now being looked at by Gavin Newsom as like the real viability pick. Xavier Becerra was somewhat progressive. Here, just go to the lever for reporting on Becerra. Becerra is no. Okay?
I sort of put a clamp
He is the Swalwell replacement. Yes. Whole timeline is Xavier Becerra. I don't know why. The reason why the whole timeline is Xavier Becerra is because he got like 8 points in this poll that came out. And that's the reason why they're pushing for him aggressively, because they want to collapse all of the remaining centrist support behind him. Why Tom Steyer over Katie Porter? Tom Steyer has an infinitely more progressive platform than Katie Porter. Katie Porter started as a progressive darling and basically became this establishment Democrat. Katie Porter also has her own staff abuse drama as well surrounding her campaign. Not the same as like, not the same, of course, as Eric Swalwell, obviously, but both Xavier Becerra and Katie Porter have gone from being somewhat progressive to when they actually were supposed to meet the moment, have become unbelievable centrists. Xavier is pronounced Javier, by the way. All right,
that
apologies.
With the tariffs and charges that we charged them, because they were elite, because they're making billions and billions of dollars from the United States, larger, and other reasons. And they run a good
Becerra,
operation,
when he was at the
at
HHS, did here. We'll do it later. We'll do it later.
Money. Well, we have these massive.
Yeah, Our Revolution endorsed Tom Steyer recently.
It's with you take a look at some of the countries, but Switzerland is one. They talk, oh yes, we are a small and brilliant. Well, they're brilliant because they pay us almost nothing. Now they pay a little bit. They should pay much more. We'll get that up a little bit. But if you take a look at Denmark, you take a look at all these countries, you think of them so good. They pay such a low interest rate. Well, if we charge them, and what happened with me is I charged some of them, and they squawked like you wouldn't believe it. They called, and we are a small country. All of a sudden, I realized they're not elite. We're elite. We're being sucked dry, and we can't do that. And you'll see that. We had a little setback with the Supreme Court. They said I can charge tariffs, but I have to do it a different way. And because of what they did, we have to pay back $160 billion. All they had to do is add one sentence, just one sentence. And that's, you don't have to pay anything taken in thus far back. But because they didn't add, and by the way, it was a close call, too. There were justices that were powerful that I was right on the tariffs. But because we lost by just 2 votes, just little vote, 2 votes, we have to pay back $165 billion. They could have, with a little one sentence, you don't have to pay back tariffs that have already been received. You start from this point, and you do it a different way. So we're doing it a different way. We're going to end up with the same. Actually, we'll end up with bigger numbers, actually, but it's a little more unwieldy, but it's the way it's been done. But it's so sad
Mr. President,
that the Supreme Court didn't want to save our country with one sentence, $165 billion, and we're giving a lot of that money back to people that hate our country. So I'm not happy with the Supreme Court, I'll be honest with you, okay?
Mr. President, on that topic, there's a whole number of very large companies, including Apple and Amazon and others, that have not sought reimbursements yet for the tariffs, meaning they haven't tried to collect refunds. And from what I understand, part of the reason that they have waited is because there is a worry about, frankly, offending you. Would you find it offensive for them to try to collect a refund?
I think it's brilliant if they don't do that. I actually think if they don't do that, they got to know me very well. I'm very honored by what you just said. If they don't do that, I'll remember them. I will tell you that, because I'm looking to make this country strong. Supreme Court could have helped us. Now they have birthright citizenship. They'll probably rule against us. No country in the world has it.
Tom Steyer going to say genocide on your stream? I know. He wasn't able to. And yet, his position on Israel is still the strongest out of all the top candidates with viability, the top 2 being Republicans who are super pro-Israel, super pro-genocide, and others who can't even get themselves to criticize Israel at all. Now, before you say Ramsey Robinson or Butch Ware, yes, I'm talking about the candidates with viability this close out from the race. They have not been able to reach a significant audience. They have their own issues as well. I'm not going to get into it. But with all of the top candidates with viability, Katie Porter and Xavier Becerra, or Javier Becerra, neither of which have a position that's even remotely close to our side on the issue of Israel, as opposed to Tom Steyer.
It's horrible for our country, and I just see it. I see some of these Republicans that are nominated by me asking real bad questions, and looks like maybe we're going to lose that one too. Look what happened with NIL. They destroyed college sports, the court system, destroyed. So hard to put that one back, Humpty Dumpty, so hard to put that one back together. We had 150 years of...
I'm not voting for Steyer. I'd rather just not vote. Okay. I mean, fine. You're always talking about viability. You realize you were still wrong even in 2016 when you personally said Bernie was disqualified from being president because he was unelectable. Wait, what? Hello, Kaya. Someone's bored. Hello. Okay, I know you want pets, but Daddy's working right now. Come here. Come here. Kaya, come here. Kaya. You are Hillary Clinton. Yes, that's right. I am Hillary Clinton. This is true. I am Hillary Clinton. What? Fuck your stream, Pet Kaya. Is that chatter joking? No. I am not Hillary Clinton, Charlie Kirk.
Of rulings and everything else, and they had such a great system. It was a scholarship system. You get free college if you're a good athlete. You get this, you get that. And it took care of every sport. Fencing, not only football. Now it's all football and the foot.
Okay, dude. All right, fuck. I'm not listening to the rest of this shit. I don't give a fuck.